Hi, welcome back. Today our inspiration is going to be Claude Monet, famous and favorite French Impressionist. Um, we loved him because he taught us to paint outside and capturing the light. And today we're going to talk about the series he did the last 30 years of his life in Giverny. Yes, I'm excited because I said that in my imagination, I went back there. I was there twice. The first time, 1989, for one day. And then the following year, 1990, I went back and spent a whole week painting in the garden, pretty much by myself. Me and Joy, who was 7, got to go there every day and sit on the bank and paint one after another. Joy laid down on the bridge and painted green circles with pink dots, which is about what we're going to do today. My demonstration is a pink dot. I want to talk a little bit about Monet's, his Impressionists, how they painted. They painted fast because they were trying to capture the light in what they called a glance. So that's pretty fast. The light changes quickly. So the idea, the word Alla prima, which is here's my word for the day. Your vocabulary word is alla prima. It's another Italian word, and it means first attempt, or wet on wet, or painting very fast, or painting everything in one session. It was like used to be in the old days, their classic training was to paint something and let it dry and then go back and paint it again and in many, many layers. But the Impressionists did the whole thing in one session. So it means that they said that the top layer, when you put the top layer on, the bottom layer was still wet. And that was for oil. But it applies to watercolor very well because we talk about wet on wet all the time. And the water pond just lends itself so much to wet on wet. And so we're also focusing on hard and soft edges. And you'll see the composition that I found for you. Has a lot of soft edges in the water. The edges of the water lilies the water lily pads are very soft. And there's a crisp edges on the lily, the flower lily. And you'll see in my demonstration, I kept calling the lily pads, just call them lilies, because, when I'm painting my demonstration, I am in my very right brain, and I'm not thinking very much about what I'm saying. I'm just saying whatever I think of. And so I was calling the whole time I'm talking about painting the lily pads, I'm just calling them lilies, because in my mind, I know they're lily pads, so you'll have to forgive me for that in the demonstration. People have asked to demonstrate one more time how to do soft edges. So we have a quick demonstration on that. I talk about Monet's 30 years of his life. The history was kind of interesting. When he moved to Giverny, he had a huge yard which he began to create a garden of just regular flowers. And then later he bought some land that was right next door, and it had a pond. And so he started buying things to put in his pond. He bought these expensive, very exotic colors of water lilies. And he put them in, and then he bought some willow trees to hang on the banks. And he was so interested in painting not just the flowers in the water, but the reflections. And so he created his own reflections, and he created basically a huge still life just for himself to paint. And so he did it a lot every day. But when he first started painting his water pond, he painted the water lilies up close. And when I read about that, I was so excited because I wanted to show you them, because that's what I want. When I went there, I painted them up close. And I love the composition of one water lily and a few lily pads because of the negative shapes. And so I couldn't find them. And I found out why, because even though he painted a lot of them, he covered them all up to save canvases. We paint them over them, so they're gone. But we are going to do it for him. We have recreated the scene. Oh, the other thing about why he was interested in painting up close is because he was inspired by the Japanese prince. And if you've been to his house, you'll see he has walls and walls covered. The whole kitchen, all the staircases are covered with Japanese prints. So the Impressionists were very interested in them. And mostly it's the design and the composition of every Japanese print. So that's kind of what our composition today is based on the design of a Japanese print. So now we're going to, first of all, we're going to have a demonstration on softening edges. So, welcome to my demonstration today. It's about color and softening edges in watercolor. I have a very simple palette again. I'm only going to be using 4 colors, New Gamboge, Opera, Ultramarine, Alizarin, and Phthalo Green. Because that's really all you need is the rainbow colors. So let's start with showing how we mix on the paper. We'll start with, I don't have enough paint on here. We'll start by making a wash with this bright green. And remember, we're thinking about the edges. And then I'm going to put some pink over it. You have to do it while it's still wet. Wash. Put the pink over it. It turns to the most beautiful lavender. Pink and green make lavender, or they also make gray. So now that one I'm going to just let dry without softening the edges. And down here I'm going to do one. Same thing, different colors. Same colors, but put them on different order. This time I'm putting the pink down first. And then put the green on top of it. And this time I'm going to soften the edges. Where is it? This must be here. There we go. This will have a little more green in it. There we go. This will be more gray. Now watch what happens. I'm going to make the edges very hot, crisp, so you can see them. And then I'm going to take all the water out of all the paint out of the brush, all the water out of the brush, and go like this. And it doesn't look like anything's happened, but you'll compare it. I only did it once. I could do it one more time. Maybe I'll do it someplace else too. I'll do it down on the bottom. I think I'll leave it. This is one that I mixed on the paper, green and pink. Makes a nice neutral color. Down here I mixed pink first and less pigment, so it's a little grayer and a little paler. And I just hit that one time to show you how this edge now becomes a very soft edge. Let's do it again. We'll keep practicing. Let's do it with ultramarine blue. I'll make a lovely violet because I'm thinking about all the colors that are going to be in the Monet water pond that we're going to do today. You have to have enough paint and enough water to make a nice wash like that. See, if it has enough water, enough paint, you can go back and forth very quickly. Maybe this time I'll just soften this. Okay. Same thing. Very, all the water out, all the paint out, and just go like this. One, maybe 2 times. That's it. Okay. And I'm leaving the other one so you can see how, even though it looks like not much happened, it really is very soft. Let's do another one. You just have to keep practicing. I'm going to put pink down here first. you guys to try this. I want you to practice it. So mixing on the paper. Ultramarine blue. Start here, right across, mixing on the, laying it on very carefully. Fix up the color under it. This is very hard edge right over here. As fast as I can, get it all paint out, all the water out, and go like this. Barely touching the edge. Maybe we'll do it down here just to see what happens. You see now how when it starts to dry, it's nice and soft. But these are our soft edges as compared to the hard edges. Let's try one more combination of colors that we're going to be using in our Monet's Garden. These are green. You can honestly do 2 or 3 colors. You could do blue, green, and alizarin crimson. I'm thinking of alizarin crimson. Let's see how you put it right across here. I think we're going to add another color to this. Looks awfully red, doesn't it? Let's put more green on top of it. Really dark and very neutral. And we'll soften this edge. Maybe this one too. While we're at it, let's try something else I want to show you. Another way to soften, you can get soft lines, not edges so much. There are some beautiful highlights in this water pond that we're going to be doing today. And this is a great way to draw something and then let it bleed. You'll see there's a lot of pretty little things going on in the water. Just try that. It'll be very soft. That's definitely soft edges because you lift it on something that was still wet. You can also go back after it dries, lifting, just go across like that. Yeah, looks like reflection in the water. So that's enough for now. I want you to have time to practice. I'd like to show you some of the paintings that Monet did at Givigny. The first one is, well, all of them are sort of like this. They show the reflections in the water. I was especially excited to discover that some of the shapes that I saw in his paintings on the water were the shapes of the clouds overhead. And so, of course, they're changing as quickly as the light is changing. The clouds are moving. And the weeping willows on the bank are moving, changing. And then there's the wonderful reflection of the color of the water lily on the lily pads. And then you'll see how the water affects the color of the lily pads, and there's just so much going on at once. It's just a beautiful, beautiful aspect of nature that he was obsessed with for 30 years. I want to talk about this demonstration that's coming up. in the beginning, I was trying to draw it on. I had done my thumbnail sketch and my 2-minute thumbnail sketch and my 10-minute value study, which was very helpful. But when I started drawing it on, I want to show you my picture of how I started to draw it on. I was going to make I had you draw the border, because then you can see the shapes in the corner, which are really important. But I was having a terrible time. I divided the paper in half, and then I divided it in half again, and I was making all these lines, and I was trying to get the water lily, the lily pad in the corner, you'll see. I was trying to make it fit, and I was just having a terrible time. And then I thought, well, you know, this isn't much fun. And then all of a sudden I thought, uh-oh, I forgot. I must be in my left brain. Because if you're in your left brain, you're feeling kind of uncomfortable. So I remembered the basics. And I've suggested it to you, and I'll demonstrate it more again. But for now, I want to say how I did a blind contour drawing of the water lily. I looked at the water lily, and I drew it with a pencil without looking at the paper, just for about a minute. And you'll see that here. It has wonderful detail, and then it just gets kind of strung out. But that's okay. You're not trying to make it look like anything. You're just observing something and drawing it without looking at the paper. And I mean, really, after a minute of that, I was in another zone and much happier to be doing this. So then I decided that since I was having trouble on my left brain approach, I would try a right brain approach. So I started out in the very center of the water lily. And also the blind drawing showed me the underlying structure of the water lily, rather than just looking at the silhouette and all the points that were driving me crazy. So this is what I kept seeing, the oval shape, and then underneath the shape here in the very corner, this one here, this is the basic structure of it. It's a circle with a little triangle at the bottom. So that's what's underneath all of this. There's the circle, the triangle, and then you start attaching the points of the water, what do you call them? Petals. Okay. So then, so the drawing is really fun. I'm happy to show you the stages of the drawing. So what I did was I started about where I thought, I didn't put the border this time. I said, nope, can't do that. I started with the point in the middle of the flower, and I just started drawing what I could see, thinking about my circle or my triangle. And pretty soon, very short, like maybe 2 minutes, I had a pretty good, I was thinking this could be loose and juicy like Monet. It doesn't have to be like a photograph at all. So I could have a kind of a sloppy looking lily. So once I got that, then I was home free. You'll see all I did was start attaching lines. I say to myself, where does this line of the top of a lily pad seem to emerge from a line that I've just drawn. And then when I got to the edge of the paper, I would draw the straight line. And I did it all the way around, like it was like coming out from the center and working its way out. And then once I got everything out from the center, the lily flower, then I put the border on. And so that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know what else I need to know before you. I wanted to remind you about the Alla prima thing. It was so funny. It means not only to do something quickly, but it says it requires, it's a quote, it requires embracing unpredictability, which is what I ask you to do all the time. And so that's why when I finally did that, I had so much more fun. And also, as you know, we call it embracing unpredictability is embracing happy accidents. So I want you to have some. And you'll see mine. In this demonstration, I'm trying to keep the edges soft, especially on the edges, the lines of the lily pads, but keeping them very hard edge on the top of the lily, and especially look at how I kept the top part of the lily flower white until the very end. Okay? Enjoy. Pretend you're Monet in the garden. We're going to pretend that we are standing in Giverny looking out over Monet's garden. And since we have our drawing in here, I want to start with maybe one big mass that I definitely want to protect the whites of the flowers up here. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the pink bottom part of the lily. And we want this to be not so tight and exact, but I want to put a few definite things in, like this pink shape here. It's really bright, so you can, maybe it's going to dry lighter, so go ahead and put more bright colors in it. I saw this bottom part is sort of a cradle holding a circle. That helped me to get a simplified shape down. Okay. So this maybe just have a few definite shapes in here, because as we get out into the water, we're going to be really loose and juicy. But right now we want it to be a little more defined. I'm lifting it off a little bit. Fill it in. Maybe let's put a little bit of pink back in here. Put a few lines in. Where I have it on my brush. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we should put a few lines in like that, and then go on to our water. Yeah, a lot of this detail is going to stand out because they're going to stand against the water. Okay, that's all for the hot pink for now. Okay, no more. All right. Now I'm going to mix up, I'm going to put some new gamboge over the whole top water lily, but saving some white. I have drawn on a few water drops. Paint all that. I'm just going to paint a few big shapes. And then take a little bit of the bright green and put right over that. So this is going to help to define. We have to be very sure that we're defining the lotus petals on the top with the background behind it. There we go. Let's put some over here too. Saving a few whites for the watermarks. Back to the yellow. Now you notice that the water lily isn't actually yellow-green. It's a little more neutralized. So let's take a little bit of pink because it will neutralize the green. Just a little bit. Doesn't take much. A little bit of green over everything will make it just about that color. And then I think while I'm at it, I'm going to take a little blue and put in these little dark things here. They're not exactly blue, they're more of a brown, but we'll start with that for now. Maybe we'll put a little alizarin on top of that, just a little bit, just to neutralize the blue. Because they're kind of purple, aren't they? There we go. Then we can start working on the water. We start with some blue, I think, maybe cobalt blue. Do cobalt. And then, but you want to paint fast, Alla prima we talked about, and you want, so therefore you want it to be dark enough so you don't have to go back 5 times. Oh, that's blue. It's a little bit different color blue. I think I'm put this blue in, and then we'll come back with some green. But this is the opportunity to pull out the shapes of your petals. There we go. Oh, thank you. Good. And what I loved about this is the negative spaces created by the water. And over here too. Remember, the Impressionists painted nature at a glance, so that means we're going to be doing this as fast as possible. And I'm going to put a little bit of that green in here because it's really more of a blue green, isn't it? It's a beautiful blue green. And if we mix it on the paper, not on the palette, that did it. Gorgeous blue green. And now this is the nature of watercolor. It's kind of messy, which is good. So remember, we're mixing on the paper all the time. I see more of a little bit more warmth up here. It's a bit too much. A bit too much. When it gets to be too much, you just go back with more blue again. Because it has to be darker anyway. Yeah. And there's some darker in here, but it's more warm, isn't it? So we're talking about warm and cool color. It's almost black, but it's really just, see how cold that is? Let's make it just a little alizarin over it. We'll really get the feeling of what we're looking at. Okay. And let's go down here. A little bit of a line over here. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful dark shape in here. Put that in. Wonderful dark triangle here. And it's very dark and neat. I'm going to put all of this dark under here in alizarin crimson. I made a point to save this triangle right here. I'm glad you have the picture of this. You can look at it while we're working. Let's kind of put all of this in here. This is the time to really be loose and wet and let things begin to bleed. a little bit of dark green again to make this very dark shadow, very dark in the line. But so far I'm just using red and green and blue. I used a little yellow to start, but that was it. Very dark in here. It's too cold. It's too warm. Okay, go back. I see some lines. I'm going to put them in now. Got there, a few lines. So pretty. Okay, let's do the same with our water lilies again. Maybe this one. This one. Oh, thank you. I want to I drew it from the inside out, and I think I'll paint it that way too. It's an interesting color. A little green over it. This should be a place for a soft edge right there. Let's see. There's a little red there. You got some beautiful bright colors. This putting in this bright red orange or yellow orange shape shows us how much work we have to do on the water lily behind it, because it's much darker right in here especially. So I'm just using blue just to make it darker. There we go. It's drying lighter. Okay, let's keep going. Back to putting in some bright blue, dark blue, I should say. Good idea. Very. Oh, I don't know if I had this in the right place. Can you guys? I hope you can see it. I had it. I've been holding it up like that. Is that okay? I hope so. This is sort of a neutral, just not a neutral color in here. So let's see, it's a little too red, so we'll put some green over it. Put some green over there, and then spreading the green out to make it more of a gray, dark gray. So kind of a green gray. This down here is almost lavender looking, so I'm going to start with some pink in the bottom one. Remember, you want to keep bouncing color around. Put a little pink in the green, a little green in the pink. But this one is more, this has green in it, but it's a little more on the lavender side. I'm going to put the pink in and then put a little bit of blue and see if you can't make it look more lavender, that particular one. Now I'm putting blue over it. So it is lavender, but it's also green. So we'll make it lavender and then we'll put green over it. There we go. And while I'm at it, I put a bit of lavender and green here. And where else do I need that? Maybe up here. Now we'll put some green over the lavender. Now that it's drying, this is drying lighter, but this is dried too light. Let's put some green, because we want to make it more blue-green anyway. So we'll put some green over it. This one has several wonderful colors in here. It's like a little rainbow. Got yellow, green, and pink. Don't be afraid of color. He said that Monet was trying to capture the kaleidoscope of the light reflecting in the pond. Okay, so get back to the blue water. I see a lovely line right here. Think how this is a little more complicated and pale, isn't it? It doesn't have to be even this detailed. You can do it much looser if you want. Or you could do this and get as close as you can. See how every time I've done it a little differently, but I'm using the same colors. I mean, every lily. Sometimes I started with the yellow. In this case, I put the blue down first. But be sure you save the white. And then now I'm getting a little more loose and juicy, as they say. Kind of like that. Maybe I'll put a little bit of red around the edges. There we go. There's always some of the complementary color. I think I'll leave it because it's pretty. This is an example of how it's not quite the same color, but I like it, so I'm going to leave it. Make sure this is dark enough down here. You can see it. all kinds of lovely shadows around here. Actually, we're almost done. Let's put these little things here floating around in the water. Now we've been talking about color, but now we're back to value again. There's a lot of stuff going on in the water, but the values are very close, so you have to respect that. I've got one more water lily that I want to do up here in the corner. And then I'll take a look at it and see what it needs. Maybe a little bit more there. You see how I'm just kind of bouncing the yellow around? Kind of adding it to things. Now we have to just, this is just a little too light. It's going to knock it down just by putting some water over it, pretty much. It's in the water, but it's not standing out quite that much. And we can't have any white showing, except up here when we want it to stay white. Thinking of a lot of things at once here. And if you get some variations in the water that you don't really see, that's fine. They very likely are there, or will be, or were. And this is too warm, so I have to cool it off. Right here. Remember, I've talked about you're always thinking about the color, the value, which is light or dark, lighter or darker. And then now we're thinking more about warm and cooler. So this here was dark enough, but it was too warm. No, this is too warm. So you just put something cool over it. And it's the same as getting the values right. If you get the values right, then you get the color right, you'll be very happy. Now I'm going back and accenting things again. Even though I had such a dark, it's dried out. I mean, it dried lighter. And you want to only put them where you see them now. You're not outlining them, you're just accenting them. Huge difference. I mean, they kind of look outlined, but they're not. So that's going to make a whole lot of difference in the finished thing. Very nice. This right here is a little darker. And when you just want to go back and darken things a little bit, cobalt blue is really good. Because it doesn't change anything too much. It just, like right here with the cobalt blue over this, which will just make, I want this to be darker than the lily in front of it. And I'm just kind of softening all of this. If you get it soft the first time, fine. If not, you can go back and soften it. Okay, let's look at how we're going to finish this right now. We're going to finish it. A couple more accents and filling in this up here. A few accents up here. I think that would be quite enough. A little bit dark here. A little bit dark right there. I want to take a hot pink and make a few more lines where there are some. Like, still keep these nice and light. This is slightly darker. I want that to be lighter. Okay. Then just a couple of lines where we really see them. But it was like the value study. We don't put a line unless we actually see it. Otherwise, it's just a white coming up against the darker background. So I wouldn't get carried away with the lines, okay? Only put them where you have to. I think that might be enough. Oh, and in here, there's some lovely little accents in here we should put in. Definitely a few dogs. Dogs here. Okay. I want to cobalt blue would be a good thing for pulling this out here. It's slightly darker. I want that white to be really standing against the dark. Okay, let's get back and take a look at it.